guys are watching TechHM here, and yesterday was Apple's event where they announced the new iPads, the new iMac, and released OS X Yosemite. And if you somehow managed to miss it or just couldn't be bothered to watch it, then today I'm here with a quick overview of it. Starting off with the iPads. Now, last year's iPad Air was incredibly light and thin and packed an incredible processor and had really fast graphics. But this year's iPad Air 2 is only 6.1mm thin, is 18% lighter than last year's iPad, and has a processor which is 40% faster and even faster graphics than last year. And the processor it packs, it is the A8X, as it has been throughout the iPad line, and by that I mean that the iPad processors end in an X to differentiate it from the A8 processor from the iPhone. But the iPad mini 3 is still rocking last year's A7 chip built on 64-bit architecture, but I guess that's the old point, as the smaller the device, the less power it requires. But for the display, both these devices are rocking a 9.7-inch panel and a 7.9-inch panel respectively, both rocking a resolution of 2048 by 1536, giving the iPad mini 3 a much higher pixel density of 326 ppi, in other words, a Retina display, whereas the iPad Air 2 has a pixel density of 264 ppi. Nonetheless, the displays are great on both these tablets. However, another feature which Apple talked about at the event is the anti-reflective coating only on the iPad Air 2's beautiful display. This feature would have been nice if it was also on the iPad mini 3, but however, the feature that we've all been waiting to be put on the iPads since last year's release of the iPhone 5S, you've probably already guessed it, Touch ID. Touch ID is now introduced in both the new iPads, making the iPad much more secure than ever, as you can set your fingerprint as sort of the passcode to the rest of the iPad's content. In my opinion, Touch ID should have been introduced on the iPad Air and the iPad mini with Retina display back last year, along with the release of the iPhone 5S, because that had Touch ID. But not forgetting the iSight camera. The iSight camera on the iPad Air 2 is an 8MP shooter which shoots 1080p video compared to the 5MP shooter on the iPad mini 3 which also shoots 1080p video. But what's new is that the iPad Air 2 takes slow-mo videos at 120fps, 720p resolution, and another thing which the iPad Air 2 has is burst mode. And another new thing is that both iPads have the ability to take panoramas as long as 43 megapixels, which again, the last year's iPads did not support. So that's it for the iPads. Both have fantastic graphics, are extremely smooth, and are incredibly light and thin, which I'm really impressed with, as how can someone manage to fit all this cool technology in a small body? Two ways how the iPad Air has been engineered to achieve its extreme thinness is by making the glass thinner and just removing this air gap which was present in the iPad Air between the glass and the display. One thing which I still haven't mentioned is the new M8 Motion coprocessor, which is an improved version of the M7 Motion coprocessor, as it has support for a barometer sensor, which is only present in the bigger iPad. They both have high quality cameras, and I just can't wait to pre-order the iPad mini 3 on the 17th of October. Wait, that's today. Yeah, you can pre-order the new iPads from today, starting at £399 for the iPad Air 2 16GB model, and the 16GB model iPad mini 3 starting at £319, and prices go up respectively for all three colours: space grey, gold and silver. And even this time, Apple have skipped the 32GB model and went straight to 64 and 128, which is awesome, just like they did with the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus. So now let's move on to the iMac. Retina 5K display, 14.7 million pixels. That is just insane. But that's not the end of the story. It's got reduced energy consumption without compensating for the brightness at all, and it's fantastic contrast. And the edge of the iMac, so thin, it's even thinner than the iPad Air 2, coming in at only 5mm thin. But under the hood, it's powered by the quad-core Intel Core i5 clocked at 3.5 GHz, which can be upgraded to the Core i7 clocked at 4 GHz. making this iMac the fastest iMac ever built, obviously, as that's how product lines work. They get better and better year by year. Otherwise, if it's the other way round and they get worse every year, then that company's got Down syndrome. For the graphics in this thing, it carries an AMD Radeon R9 M290X GPU, which can again be upgraded to an R9 M295X if you wish to achieve better graphics. Now the iMac can deliver up computing power of up to 3.5 teraflops, and put that next to a gaming console like the PS4, which delivers up to 1.84 teraflops of computing power, or the Xbox One, which gives you up to 1.3 teraflops of computing power. The iMac is a tank. In addition, the memory can also be configured to up to 32GB of RAM and up to 3TB of efficient drive storage. And finally, the new Thunderbolt 2 ports offer you very high data transfer rates of 20GB per second, which is twice the bandwidth of the previous iMac. And prices of the Retina 5K iMac start at £1,999. Talking about Mac, Apple also introduced the newer Mac Mini, which is just a pumped up version of the previous Mac Mini, and it will also be running OS X Yosemite. So there you have it, guys, all this stuff you needed to know about the Apple event which took place yesterday, i.e. the 16th of October. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed, and feel free to comment what you liked or disliked about the Apple event. Are you planning to pick any of the products up? If so, what ones, or what one? And also subscribe to this channel if you haven't already for more tech videos like this, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching.